Hey, what's up everyone? I hope you're all doing well on this most fine day. So one of the many things that's contributed to making the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim the timeless masterpiece that it's become is the many different choices we can make. From the big decisions like Imperials or Stormcloaks, all the way down to the little things like deciding what to wear for a specific quest. Giving players lots of autonomy has always been a defining pillar of the Elder Scrolls experience. But do you really know just how much power you actually have in Skyrim? This game specifically has a ton of hidden little unmarked ways to do quests and secret mini-objectives. And even now, there are still secret options that have eluded most players. So let's discuss 10 of these hidden choices in detail. And I bet that 99% of you will learn an option that you didn't know you had in this video. Some of you Skyrim veterans out there may be pretty confident that you'll know them all, so I have a friendly proposition. If there's at least one thing in here that's news to you, then share this video someplace like maybe the official Skyrim subreddit or the BGS Discord server and say something like, "This game never gets old. Even 13 years later, there are still choices I didn't know I could make." Just a little friendly proposition if you feel up to it. So here are 10 secret decisions you didn't know you could make in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. After visiting Windhelm a few times, the quest Blood on the Ice will trigger. A young woman named Susanna the Wicked will be murdered in the graveyard, and you'll have to find the killer. Once you've collected evidence from Hierim, the killer's lair, you'll discover that the motive seems to be that they're attempting some sort of necromantic ritual. And the only person in Windhelm that would obviously have knowledge of such rituals is the court mage, Wuunferth the Unliving. The quest marker will then direct you to bring the evidence to Yorleaf, and he'll arrest Wuunferth for the murders. However, a few days later, another young woman named Aravanya will turn up dead as well, revealing that Wuunferth can't be the killer. This will reopen Blood on the Ice, and you'll have to visit Wuunferth in jail. After expressing some understandable frustration, he'll devise a plan to catch the real killer in the act. And once you successfully execute said plan and catch the real butcher, the quest will end again. However, it doesn't have to go down that way. Before you bring all the evidence to Yorleaf, you can actually go confront Wuunferth. Then he'll sort everything out for you without you having to arrest him. He'll lay out the same plan and you'll catch the real killer in the Stone Quarter just like you would otherwise. And no one else has to die because you can actually disrupt the killer before he kills the next victim, which I always prefer. Because even though the possible victims aren't important to any quest or anything like that, Skyrim's characters are still a huge part of what makes this world so rich. It's a shame to lose any if you don't have to. Many players don't know about this option because 1, it's not marked, and 2, Viola directly discourages you from going to Wuunferth. And that can come across like maybe Bethesda's giving you a gentle nudge saying, hey, there's nothing scripted with Wuunferth, so don't bother going up there, just go to Yorleaf. But that isn't what's going on here. There is something scripted with him, it's just not marked. So if you want to save some lives, and you'd rather not arrest the wrong person, you might consider taking the evidence to Wuunferth instead of Yorleaf. One of the early quests in the College of Winterhold questline is hitting the books. An apprentice named Orthorn stole some books and hoped to use them as his entry fee to join a rogue mage cult. You'll come across Orthorn in this little jail area. Apparently, the cult was never going to let him join, they just used him to get the books, and now they're going to use him for experiments. But you can form an alliance with Orthorn and he'll become your temporary follower for this quest. He's not great in combat, but he's alright. Once you reach the Collar, you'll actually have the option to trade him for the books, which is pretty savage. You can also try your luck with a persuasion check, and if you pass, the Collar will let you have the books. Those two options let you skip the boss fight, but neither of them get you the Felglow Ritual Chamber Key, which unlocks the next room where the dungeon's best loot is. However, it is still possible to get the key after making either of those two choices. After handing Orthorn over or passing the speech check, you can hit the Collar with a sneak attack, and if your sneak and one-handed are high enough, you may manage to kill her with one strike. That way you skip the whole boss fight where she's teleporting, healing herself, that there's these Atronachs. It can be a bit much for a game that's strong point is not its combat. If you saw those How to Make Elder Scrolls 6 videos I did a few months back, then you know that one of the things I recommended was that if there's time, if this is possible to do in addition to making a Skyrim's worth of content, then they should upgrade to an action-reaction combat system. And one of the reasons that I really like that idea is because they can really get a lot out of these boss fights with a system like that as opposed to their traditional hack and slash. Something Mr. Matty Plays brings up often when he's covering Bethesda is how it used to feel so awesome to do things like getting a Daedric weapon. You know, you just cleared this quest for a freaking god, then they hand you this legendary weapon with a unique design and has this great enchantment. It was awesome. Well, imagine how awesome it would feel to actually win this boss fight by outskilling and outmaneuvering the caller, as opposed to just outlasting her. So if Bethesda has the time and resources to take combat to the next level, then they absolutely should. But only if they can do so in addition to making a Skyrim's worth of quests, lore, and all those more creative things that make Skyrim so timeless. So that's how you can skip the boss fight with the caller, but still raid the loot room. One of my favorite quests in Skyrim is the Forsworn Conspiracy. It starts with the attack on Margaret in the market. Then Eltrys gives you this note telling you to meet him at the Shrine of Talos. He explains that there have been attacks like this going on for a while, then he sends you to go get information about the Forsworn. But once you have everything you need and take it back to the shrine, you'll discover that the corrupt guards have killed Eltrys. Then they'll take you to Sid the Mine. However, what a lot of players don't know is that you can actually visit the shrine after completing each of the first 2 objectives and he will still be alive. As in, once you found Waylon and Margaret's journals, you can take them back to Eltrys at the shrine and he'll give you a decent sum of gold for each of them, along with giving you some dialogue about the evidence in them that you wouldn't get otherwise. But if you want to do this, make sure not to confront Nepos the Nose or Fonar Silverblood until after talking to Eltrys. Completing either of those 2 phases of the quest will trigger the guards to murder him. I used to always end up skipping this because I could never remember what actually triggers them to go kill him, so I'd always just think, oh, I'll do all the errands while I'm out, but then I'd get there and he'd be dead. But that's what it is. Seeing Fonar or Nepos will cut you off from talking to Eltrys again. So if you want to get some extra enrichment out of this fantastic quest next time you do it, make sure you stop by and visit Eltrys after inspecting Margaret's room in the Silverblood Inn and Waylon's place in the Warrens. For the quest Laid to Rest, you must find out who started a fire that killed a young girl named Helgi and her mother. The one survivor was Helgi's father Hroggar, and the people of Morfall suspect that he started the fire because a day after losing his wife and daughter, he moved in with another woman named Alva. So it looks as if he killed his family so that he could start a new life with a younger woman. Lots of people don't know that he actually has some hidden dialogue throughout the various phases of the quest that most players never hear because you're never actually directed to speak with him. And these cryptic lines he drops do make him seem guilty. However, what you'll eventually discover is that Alva is part of a nearby clan of vampires led by Mavar Pequeen, and he's trying to make the people of Morfall his cattle. Alva has enthralled Hroggar to use him to guard her coffin while she's out executing the rest of the plan. To get proof of all this, you'll need to steal Alva's journal from her coffin. But either Alva, Hroggar, or both of them will be in her house guarding it, and you'll have to kill them if they spot you. However, neither of them actually have to die for you to complete the quest. If you do manage to remain undetected in Alva's house, you can just snatch the journal and walk out. The quest will proceed as normal. Alva will be in Mavar's lair when it's time to slay him, but she won't be hostile, so you can just leave her be. Once you slay Mavarf and report the news to the Jarl, the quest will conclude. And Hroggar and Alva will both be alive. But be aware that it may take a few days for everything to sort itself out. Like during filming for this, I went into Alva's house to check on them a bit too soon and they were still hostile. But eventually, they should revert back to their regular routines. Alva will still be a vampire, but no one seems to care, so why should you? Hroggar will still work at the mill and will have some dialogue about losing his family, and he'll thank you for saving him from Alva's spell, which is weird because he'll still be living with her in her house, but what else can he do? I guess if you lose everything, but this beautiful woman with huge tracts of land invites you to live with her, I guess what else can you do there? So if you want to spare Hroggar, who's truly innocent in all this, or you want to let this pretty vampire live because why not, then consider really training your sneak skill before entering Alva's house and maybe take some potions with you to help. The quest Ill Met by Moonlight is another one of my favorites. In this one, the Daedric Prince Hircine orders you to hunt down the werewolf Sinding and skin him for his hide. If you do so, Hircine will reward you with Savior's hide. You can also form an alliance with Sinding and kill the rest of the hunters. The reward for that is the Ring of Hircine, which makes it so you don't have to wait a day between werewolf transformations. But what a lot of fans don't know is that there's a way to get both rewards. Before you start this process, be sure to save your game in Bloated Man's Grotto just in case it goes wrong. In my experience, it never has, but I have seen reports of it online. So here are the steps. First, side with Sinding and kill the other hunters. Then go outside so Hirsine will take the curse off the ring. Then simply turn around and walk back into Bloated Man's Grotto and kill Sinding. The option to skin him will still be there, and if you do, that'll still trigger Hirsine to mend it into Savior's hide for you. It's a super easy way to get both rewards. I usually do this just because it's honestly simpler than making whatever choice I'd make otherwise than getting the other reward from the cheat room. After your first or second visit to Markarth, you'll eventually get stopped by a Vigilant of Stendarr named Tyranus. He'll explain that he suspects a house in Markarth has been used for Daedra worship, and he'll ask you to check it out with him. Once you look around inside for a bit, he'll eventually hear something in the basement and he'll dart downstairs after it. Then he'll get scared, fill his pants with a mystery substance, and run back upstairs. At which point, a mysterious voice will tell you to kill him. Once you do that, the voice will tell you to go all the way back downstairs where you'll get the next phase of the quest. However, you don't have to keep going up and down the stairs until you're exhausted to get to the next stage. You can simply give Tyranus a whack with a stick before he starts running all over the place. Then the voice will tell you that you did good, and he'll invite you to the basement. I've started always doing this because it saves time and doesn't change the outcome. Sometimes people go into it thinking, oh, I'll just make sure I get all the dialogue, then I'll get him before he makes it all the way back upstairs, but he's quicker than you'd expect. It's hard to get him while he's sprinting upstairs. Usually he does make it a significant portion of the way up before you manage to get him. So why do all those stairs? Just send them to Oblivion right away and save yourself the energy. Along Skyrim's main questline, you'll eventually have to delve into the ancient Dwemer ruins of Blackreach, which is a pretty neat place. It's a massive underground cavern deep within Nirn where there's giant glowing mushrooms, hordes of Falmer, and a device that can read Elder Scrolls, which is what you'll need to find. Septimus Cygnus will direct you to enter Blackreach through the ruins of Alfdand, which is where the quest marker will point you. There's sort of a sub-objective in there where you find out what happened to a research team that tried to excavate Alfdand but ended up getting captured by the Falmer and turning on each other. Once you get to the bottom, you'll find the entrance to Blackreach, where you can find the Elder Scroll in the Tower of Mzark and proceed with the main quest. However, you don't have to enter Blackreach for Alfdand. Since the cavern is so expansive, there's actually a few entrances to it. They're through the ruins of Alfdand, Mzinchileft, and Ralbafar. And I think that most players do know about these other entrances, but they think that you have to go through Alfdand for the main quest because they think this dungeon objective is part of it, but it's not. This is a separate thing. As in, not doing this part by not entering for Alfdand will not mess anything up later. All the sequencing with the Elder Scroll will still function as normal. So what are the benefits of entering for each of them? I'd say the easiest overall dungeon is Ralbafar. The entry part of it is used as a hideout by Elaine Dufont and his gang, but there's no quest beyond that in here. So accessing Blackreach through here does give it a bit more purpose. Also, this entrance gets you the closest to Mzark, where the Elder Scroll actually is. Mzinchileft, I'd say, is easier than Alfdand, but not quite as easy as Ralbafar. The first section of this dungeon is used for the Dark Brotherhood contract on Maloril, and the loot room is where you can retrieve the sword Grimsever for Miol the Lioness. Entering Blackreach through here does get you closer to Mzark than Alfdand, but not quite as close as Ralbafar. So the major benefit in entering through Mzinchileft is that if you time it right, you can do all the quests in here in one fell swoop, as opposed to having to go back for each one. The only true advantage to entering Blackreach through Alfdand is that you get the Targe of the Blooded from Umana on the way, which really isn't a great shield, but it looks cool. So if you feel like shaking things up a bit for your next playthrough, consider entering Blackreach through Mzinchileft or Ralbafar. For an 8th spot, as you're nearing the end of the main questline, you'll have to trap a dragon named Odahviing on the Great Porch of Dragon's Reach. Using the Call Dragon Shout will compel him to meet you there to battle. However, once you use the shout and initiate the battle, this poor guard will get snatched up, crushed by a pair of giant claws, then chucked back down at the earth and slammed into the ground. It's a shame to ride off and save the world, knowing that this poor soul is going to become an unsung hero. But there is a way to save him. If you complete the Mind of Madness ahead of time, the Daedric Prince Sheogorath will reward you with a unique staff called Wabbajack. Its effects can be unpredictable, but there's one specific one that can save the guard. Save the game before you call Odahviing, then use the shout, wait for the objective to move to the next phase, then zap the guard with Wabbajack. If it turns him into something like a mud crab or a chicken, Odahviing won't be able to snatch him up. After you've captured Odahviing, he'll have some lines about the experience being a story for his grandchildren, being amazed that the plan worked, and all that. Then you can ride off and save the world with the comfort of knowing that you managed to save this lesser-known hero from a pretty painful demise. After killing Grelod the Kind, you'll eventually wake up in the abandoned shack. Then Astrid will tell you that you can't leave until you kill someone else in the shack, and she presents you with a few victims to choose from. Killing any of them will complete the objective and you'll get to join the Dark Brotherhood. However, what a lot of players don't know is that you don't have to kill just one of them. You can kill any combination of them that you choose. Let's say you're role-playing as a Khajiit and you think your character would take pity on Vasha, but would maybe have some resentment towards the two humans. You can kill the humans and leave Vasha alive. Or if you think Fulfheim is being honest with you and you just don't like Aaliyah and Vasha, you can kill them. Or if you're a hungry werewolf, you can just eat them all. And the best part is Astrid has unique dialogue for each possible combination, which is a nice extra bit of detail. So next time you wake up in the abandoned shack, consider all the options before making your final decision. One of the secrets I covered last time around is how if you let Gissur leave the Falmore embassy, he'll be waiting for you in the Ragged Flagon. Then he'll ambush you once you're on your way back up with Esbern. However, it actually doesn't need to come to that. Once you get the info about Esbern, Gissur will go back to the main entrance to the Ratway, and he'll rendezvous with his squad of Falmore soldiers in this little room. They'll have a brief dialogue exchange, then they'll go after you. Or you could just jump them in here, then you won't have to deal with them in the Ratway vaults. Also, if you remain undetected, they'll go into the Flagon and have some words with Vekkel. He'll tell them to beat it, then Gissur will sit back down, and the soldiers will go back to where they were. But now Gissur will be hostile towards you, so keep sneaking if you want to hear the conversation. So the thing with this choice is, I don't want to say buggy, but you could probably tell from the footage I managed to film of it that it doesn't function great. Like, you know, they're probably not supposed to wade through this water here to get the Vekkel, you know what I mean? But you know, I love secret conversations like this. It's these seemingly little things that make Skyrim so timeless. Bethesda put so much into this game, so no matter how many times you play, there's always more to discover, and that just isn't true of their more recent games. Hopefully they'll return to this extreme focus on lore and there being a lot of total quests for Elder Scrolls 6. But for now, it's time to conclude. Those are 10 secret decisions you didn't know you could make in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. I'm continuously astounded that I'm still learning new things about Skyrim even now. So if you're aware of any secrets I didn't cover, please comment with them. I'm always happy to learn new things about this game. Thank you all so much for watching, and remember to subscribe if you want to vote in this poll. When I hit 10,000 subs, I'm going to send this out, and whatever wins will be the next video on my agenda. Some of you may have noticed I've really started posting a lot more short-form content on platforms like Instagram and TikTok recently. What I've done is I've kind of made a game of it. I plot myself somewhere in Skyrim, and I have you guys guess where I am on the map. So I'm going to keep doing that, and I'll also start making those for Fallout and other Elder Scrolls games too. And I'm also going to start doing like little trivia questions. So if you're interested in any of that, then check out my other platforms. And even if you're not a short form kind of person, I'd still really appreciate it if you give me a follow somewhere other than here. Like if you have a Twitter or Blue Sky, I have both those, you can find them below. And the reason for that is because, let's say I were to have some kind of health emergency, and I can't get to my computer. Like my guy Wes Johnson just had a big health scare, yeah. So yeah, thank God, then Wes is all right, and all love to Wes. So if something like that were to ever happen to me, and I can't get to my computer, like I'm in a car accident, or my channel were to get hacked or something, that creates a backup way that I could get the word out to a lot of you and let you guys know what's going on. So yeah, it's like a backup security kind of thing. So yeah, I'd really appreciate it if you give me a follow somewhere other than here. You can find a bunch of my socials below. Also, be sure to leave a like and share this video with your Skyrim-loving friends. That helps me out a whole lot. And remember that friendly proposition I made in the intro. 2 fantastic places to share content like this are the official Bethesda Discord server and the official Skyrim subreddit. Those are great places for fans to meet each other and talk about these games that we all love. Thanks again, everyone, and I will see you next time.